The gentleman from Alabama, Mr. Palmer, is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is for each member of the panel. Where do you need funding? And you don't have all day.
Yep. Well,
yeah, where do you need help?
yep. Of course, the administration has made its request, and it funds all of the things that we've outlined in the congressional justification to fund. The place that we're still lacking is in the cadence of these new frontiers and discovery programs. And of course, as you heard, research and analysis funding is always appreciated by the community.
I'm here representing myself, and I wanted to bring up exactly the 2 points that Dr. Grunsfeld just did, that Dr. Pappalardo did earlier. The research and analysis programs are crucial to understanding the data that comes back, because the ones and zeros themselves have no meaning. It's only with the application of bright scientists working on those data that we can actually turn those ones and zeros into discoveries. And then secondly, the cadence of discovery and new frontiers missions could be increased with the application of more funding, and very much to the benefit not just of the research enterprise, but I believe to the benefit of the United States and its standing in the world.
And I would just like to second what Alan just said. It's exactly right.
And I'll comment that the pace of Europa exploration depends on the pace of the funding. When we launch depends on the funding profile. And we can walk or we can crawl to get there.
Yeah, so I'll address that question as well, but maybe with a slightly different angle. All of the missions that we're talking about here today and all of the missions that we would like to do in the future hinge on technology readiness. And today there is a very effective partnership that has emerged between the Science Mission Directorate at NASA and the Space Technology Mission Directorate at NASA in creating the technologies needed for our future missions. So one of the things that I think is imperative for Congress to recognize and to recall is that without the investments in technology to enable our future missions, those future missions won't happen. And I can give you a list of 4 or 5 technology areas, some of which are actually included in the House Appropriations Bill.
As exciting as these missions are, and they're tremendously exciting, I'm from Alabama. As the chairman mentioned, we have this Marshall Space Flight Center. There's a lot of research going on in Huntsville and in Birmingham. As exciting as this is, though, I think one of the things that needs to be emphasized is the commercial and private sector benefit of what's being done through the space program. I mean, we've had tremendous advances in the quality of life because of these programs. How do you see these missions impacting that? Are there new technologies that you think will emerge out of this that are going to impact, that can be applied in the private sector, is going to impact quality of life? I think that's going to help sell a lot of this.
Well, there's sort of a high ground, and then there's the specific ground. On the high ground, as I mentioned earlier, when we ask our contractors, our companies, to build these detectors, to build the spacecraft, the propulsion systems, the power systems, we're asking them to do things that no one has ever done before. And we push the engineers and the technicians and even the managers to do things that cause companies to be stronger. On the other hand, once we build these things, for instance, the ChemM instrument on the Mars Curiosity rover, those developments are quickly turned around into things that are commercialized and used here on planet Earth, whether it's to look for counterfeit drugs or new detectors for cameras that very quickly make it into cell phones, handheld devices for detecting explosives and chemical agencies, new detectors that are used in our defense industry, and the list goes on. Almost every one of our scientific instruments is relatively quickly through the development cycle mapped to something that is either commercialized or has commercial benefit.
I have one last question quickly, and that is in regard to the near-Earth objects. Is there any plans for a manned mission to any of those? My understanding is that there's some potential for a lot of benefit in terms of exploration of a near-Earth object.
So we have a mission in the Science Mission Directorate called OSIRIS-REx, which is a robotic mission to go out to a potentially hazardous asteroid. It's 500 meters across, grab some samples and bring it back to Earth, where scientists will analyze it. And also, the administration has proposed, NASA has proposed the asteroid redirect mission, which is going to bring a near-Earth object into a lunar orbit, where the Orion spacecraft and SLS will then deliver astronauts to interrogate the asteroid.
I see my time's expired. I don't think that bill was acknowledging that, but thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer.